Hi friends, it's Lexi, aka Light Wands, and today I just wanted to talk about intuition or psychic ability, however you call it. I'm just gonna say intuition for the majority of this video because that's just usually what I say. In order to even do this video, I felt like it was important for me to also go over what intuition is, what psychic ability is. So buckle in, it'll be a fun one. I'll try not to make it ridiculously long because this is obviously a topic that can expand or balloon very quickly. So I will try to keep my Pisces Mercury in check. So here we go. So what am I even talking about when I say intuition? So in my mind, intuition is something that's like an ability or a talent or a skill that everyone is born with. Like the analogy that I always use is athletic ability. So for example, I could be blessed with a significant amount of athletic ability when I am born, which unfortunately I was not. But but you know, if I wanted, I could practice it. I could pick up a really nice pair of running shoes, and that would be like a tool that would help me progress my athletic ability. And you know, as I'm practicing, maybe I will never be as good as someone who was born with a significant amount of athletic ability, and maybe I would never like go pro with my talents, but you know, it has a utility and I'm practicing it, and it's overall probably something that's really beneficial for me, especially if I enjoy it. So intuition is like that. It's just like that. It's something that you can be born with. It's something that you can practice over time. I like to say that intuition is like a muscle, so you have to continuously practice to, you know, work that muscle. If you let it go, if you just abandon it, then yeah, you might like lose some of your intuitive ability. And you know, people always tend to think that they don't have any amount of intuitive ability, but I think that is just sort of like a misconception of what intuition actually is. So like for example, again with the athletic analogy, I'm not athletically gifted in any sense, but like I can make a walk around the block, or maybe I can do a yoga pose every now and then or something. Like it's not much, but it is still there. Like you can acknowledge that you have some amounts of it. Or like I'm not an artist, but I can draw like a stick figure, you know? So it's kind of like that. Now to extend my analogy even further, as I mentioned before, something that you could do to improve your athletic ability would to be to pick up like a pair of running shoes that would help you run, to help you work on your cardio. And just like how there are different sports and tools that you can use in athletic ability, there's also that when it comes to like intuition. So the equivalent would be like a deck of tarot cards is a tool, and the different like kinds of intuitive ability would be what we call the clairs. Okay, now here's the part before I even get into the clairs where I kind of just want to talk about science and intuition, and how the two connect or don't connect, or you know, all of that fun stuff. So intuition is something that is like, it has scientific literature and research that is budding. It's not necessarily like, while there is a lot of research that will tell you that intuition exists, it's not going to necessarily at this point tell you how much it will let you do, or and it probably doesn't necessarily like back me predicting the future with my deck, but I'm just saying that intuition is something that exists in scientific research, and I think that it's something that, for the sake of this video, I feel like I need to make the distinction between psychic ability and spiritual practice, because this is why I generally say that intuition transcends religion. It's not because I think that the two don't like mix often. Obviously they do. It mixes in my practice, or spirituality and intuition mix in my practice, but that's not necessarily for everybody. I've been read by Christian psychics, by Buddhist psychics, by atheist psychics, by pagan psychics, like the whole spectrum, and it doesn't necessarily like affect your ability, but obviously there can be overlap and mix it. In my mind, it's kind of like someone saying that they are a Christian artist or a Buddhist artist. I don't know, like it's something that can definitely impact your art or impact your psychic practice or ability, or not ability. It's something that can definitely impact your practice, but it doesn't necessarily impact your ability. Yes, it can impact the kind of art that you produce, or in this case, psychic practice that you are putting out there. But you're still an artist, you're still a psychic, whatever, and I can appreciate your art, I can appreciate your practice, regardless of whatever our spiritual or religious beliefs are. So for me, for example, I do say that my practice is a spiritual practice too. There are, I think, maybe like 2 readings in my shop that will be influenced by that. There's the spirit guide reading and the higher self reading. Those are concepts that I believe are more spiritual by nature, backed by belief, rather than science or intuition in general as a secular practice. But my practice is spiritual, but it also has a lot of like secular aspects to it. You don't necessarily have to believe in a certain thing or feel that your beliefs are compatible with mine in order to order a reading from me. The reason why I'm explaining this is because I think people tend to think that when I say psychic, it's something that is innately connected to something spiritual or religious. And I want to validate the tarot practices or these psychic practices that are innately connected to something spiritual, and something that are connected to their religion, but I also want to validate the practices out there that aren't at all. While there is a lot of connection and overlap between spiritual and religious communities and psychics, they aren't intrinsically connected. So you do not have to believe in a certain thing in order to practice or develop your intuition. Okay, so now we can talk about the clairs. So a clairsense is basically just a clear sense. So it's just a well-developed part of your intuition. So for example, there is clairvoyance, which is the one that people tend to know the most, but it just means clear seeing. And then there's, I'm going to try my best to list them all, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be missing some, so feel free to look them up on your own, especially if you want like a more in-depth explanation of each one. So there's clairvoyance, clear seeing, clairsentience, clear feeling, claircognizance, clear knowing, and clairaudience, clear hearing, and there's clairempathy, which is clear empathy. And then there's some that are like, I can't remember the one that is clear smelling, but I know that clairgustance is clear tasting, and those two tend to get associated with like it's coupled with something else. So like if you are, I don't know, at like a restaurant or something, you're probably like not just like tasting something, but like you're also smelling something. There's something in the environment. It's probably like a clairsentient thing going on too. And those two also tend to get more associated with things like mediumship. And that is why I talked a little bit more extensively about spiritual and intuitive practices overlapping, but like not necessarily needing to be related to each other. It's because obviously mediumship isn't something that is backed by science yet, or to my knowledge, I don't know, that'd be pretty cool, but it's something that is often related to what psychics do. That gift is definitely a valid gift, but it's also not like under the clair umbrella necessarily, even though there is that overlap. Yeah, okay. So when it comes to actually practicing or developing your intuition, there are a few ways that I'm going to go over. when it comes to those things. But like I said, it's sort of like practicing anything else. So if you find that a method or something works for you, maybe like again with the athletic ability analogy, maybe you don't like yoga but you like lifting weights. I don't know. So you would have to find something that works for you ultimately. So that, just keep that in mind. So number one would be just to pick up a tool. There's obviously a few stipulations with tools though. The most important one being that not everybody has access to such things. Maybe you're on a budget, or maybe you're just in an environment where you can't like blatantly have a tarot deck with you. So with that in mind, budget tools work though. If you go to the dollar store, pick up a deck of playing cards, that can work too. That can function as a deck, a divinatory tool. And it would also be something that would allow you to keep your practice safe or secret. And if you don't want to like splurge on a pendulum, for example, necklaces tend to work. This is a necklace that I have. It's obviously, it is a crystal, but if you just have a necklace that has like a weight at the bottom of it, usually it can function as a pendulum. You don't need to splurge or get anything too fancy if you don't want to. Just, you can get creative with it. The other thing that, again, you're going to want to make sure you're doing is that you're picking a tool that is going to help you focus on the thing that you're trying to focus on. So for example, if you're a visual person and you're trying to sharpen up on like clairvoyance, then something that you might want to pick up is like dream work or scrying, which is like if you have a black bowl of water or a mirror of some sorts, and I can link more about scrying and all of the other things that I'm talking about in this video below if you want to check out different kinds of divinatory practices. The other way that you can practice intuition or develop your intuitive skills is to just bring it into your everyday life. If you want to sharpen up your claircognizance, you can just literally go about your day and try to start predicting things. Like maybe you're walking down a street and you see someone next to you, maybe just try to predict where they're gonna turn next or something. Just stuff like that. Just try to make it like an everyday practice, because like I said, it is like a muscle. You're gonna want to try to pick up on it every single day. Something else that helps is just to meditate. If you're spending like 10 minutes, 5 minutes even, to yourself every day, and you're granting yourself that meditative space, that's really good for just like brushing up on your intuition every day. And that is sort of like something that would like umbrella over all of the things that I've been talking about. It doesn't necessarily have to relate to one specific practice or tool or whatever. So that's just another way. Ultimately, my main point is that you're just going to want to try to practice consistently. It really is like, again, with the athletic ability analogy, like working out every day or once a week or whatever. It sort of is just what you make of it. So yeah, my friends, that is it. That is today's video. I hope that this helped clarify a few things. Now you know my perspective on intuition, psychic ability, whatnot. And feel free, again, to tell me what your perspective of intuition is, of how you practice intuition or psychic ability below. I am excited to see your other perspectives as well. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, friends.